to JG's Fight Talk, sponsored by Rich's Boxing and Limitless Creations. And with me now, the famous Lakey. How you doing, Lakey?
Famous? Am I famous? Oh, well, get in there. Maybe not. But yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, no, really good, mate. I know you're a busy guy and you're always fingers in all sorts of pies and all sorts going on. So I'm really chuffed to have you on, mate.
No, it's good to be here. Finally, mate. We keep talking about it, but it's always been hard putting it together and busy schedules and all that. But no, it's good to be here, buddy. Good to be here. And admiring all your memorabilia behind you there, which was good. Off there.
No, I appreciate it. I've got some good friends, and I've made some good friends as well along the way doing this. So yeah, and hopefully get along to one of your shows when things pick up again.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty in the pipeline, mate. And not only that, you're in the world famous boxing group chat now, aren't you? So
that's it.
You know what I mean? So you'll be all right. You're going to be a busy boy.
In the,
yeah. So yeah.
All hours.
There's plenty of them in there, buddy. Yeah. 4 o'clock in the morning, your wife's going to love you.
Yeah, mute.
Mute.
But yeah, before we get into all that, how's things? You know, it's busy, man. Lots going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've still got the Sportanarium stuff going on the radio, which is how it all began. But I've got some good mates that are kind of looking after. Thomas Bryce, must give a shout out to Thomas Bryce.
Love Tom.
The world famous New York MC, I think is the only one. I keep telling him I want to get him over to do some MCing for us because when he does his introductions, he's on point, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's it. And he, you know, but yeah, he's a good lad. So he's looking after things a lot for me at the minute. And Dave, another guy there, because obviously we've got a lot going on with the promotionals. Because as you know, we've moved across into the promotional side now. So we've got our first show in September in Brighton. So, and it's building nicely. Lots been added to it. Every day we're adding stuff on there. I think we're up to about 15 bouts at the minute. So I think we've got 3 world title fights. So, which is good.
Yeah.
Building nicely.
Live on Fight TV.
Fight TV, Viva TV, and I'm reliably informed that there's going to be other networks involved as well, which I can't say at the moment until they're signed. But yeah, so hopefully some more terrestrial type networks, which will be good.
Yeah, no, that'd be really good. So where did it all start, Lakey? You know, you're a boxing fan. Let's solely put it there. You know, you're a big boxing fan. You love the sport. You've got a passion for it. What kind of got you into boxing? Was there a particular boxer you liked following, or sort of where did it all begin?
Well, God, I mean, I'm old now, mate, but yeah, going back sort of 30 years ago now. I used to box at the Golden Gloves in Eastbourne with a guy called Billy Ed, who's big heavyweight from Liverpool. He used to own a pub down in Eastbourne, the Golden Gloves, and out the back had a little gym. And so I used to go in there and train quite regular and spar with his son and stuff. You know, we used to do a few unlicensed naughty fights, if you like. But so it grew from there, really. And obviously, I've always liked boxing. And when I was a kid, I had quite bad asthma. So my old dad said to me once, he said, right, you either do boxing or you do rugby. I really didn't fancy rugby. I thought that looks really rough.
So I'd rather get punched in the face.
So I thought I'd rather do the boxing. You know. So that's how I got into it. And I used to watch, obviously growing up, we used to watch all the usuals, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, you know, Marvin Hagler, you know, rest in peace, Marvin. So yeah, all the golden era of boxing was which I grew up amongst that, you know. So I remember sitting up in the early hours listening to the radio, you know, the fights, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, you know, all of those kind of fights. Because obviously back in the day, didn't have Sky Box Office and couldn't stream anything. You had to either listen to on the radio or, you know, wait for a replay on the telly. So we used to sit around the radio listening and stuff. So it grew from there, and I've been passionate about it ever since, mate, just grown up with it. Obviously, gave up the boxing myself because I became a paramedic. For many, many years. So the boxing took a back seat from, you know, in that regard. And then literally, you know, kept an eye on what was going on boxing wise. Been good friends with Mr. Arv Me Too for a long time.
Love Arv.
So we chatted a lot of good old Arv. So we've chatted boxing a lot over the years. And the whole Sportanarium side of it came around purely by chance, mate. It wasn't planned. We were doing a little radio show, actually, on a little local community radio station called Radio Willingdon. which is run by a friend of mine, you know. And he just said to me one day, "Oh, you know so much about boxing. You're always talking about boxing. Why don't you do a little show for us on the radio?" I was like, I'm no DJ, mate, you know. And but we did it, you know. I spoke to Harvey. He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And we got a couple of other guys involved, and we did a little Saturday morning show. And it grew from there. Really, it started doing well. We're getting a lot of listeners, and we thought, why don't we start our own little thing? You know, give it a go. So, and God knows how we came up with a massive name, like, you know, stupid name like Sportanarium. It's quite a mouthful. I think even Harv struggles, bless him, to say sport. I think he calls it Sportanarium or something. But yeah, we came up with this silly name and got a stream and went from there, and it's just grown from there, really, mate. Yeah. And we've made a lot of friends along the way.
Yeah, and what an impact it's made. You know, as you say, you've got a great base of listeners. A lot of people tune in. You've got some great guests that go on there, you know, past and present. Yeah, as we say, you're working alongside, you know, sort of Chris Boyle's gym. You know, yeah. It's a real good crop of talent, isn't there, coming through as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of just, it feeds in nicely to what you're already doing, doesn't it?
Well, I've always been passionate. Going back to the Chris Boyle side of things, Chris is a good mate of mine, you know, and Chris is the whole reason, really, and that his fighters is the reason that we moved across into the promotion side.
Yeah.
But I've always been a real advocate, even back in the day when Jane Couch was fighting the you know, when she was prevented from fighting, you know, back in the late 90s. And I was horrified. I remember at the time being really horrified by that and thinking, you know, how can that be? Yeah. Even at the, you know, it might have been the late 90s. I know equality then wasn't what it is now, clearly. But I remember always thinking it was horrific what she was going through, she was having to go all over the world to fight, but she couldn't fight in her own country, you know, and that stuck with me all the way from there. I know obviously what happened, and, you know, her fight, as she says herself, often her fight was real, you know, and if it wasn't for what she went through, the girls that are around now wouldn't be boxing. You know, it's a fact. Yeah. You know, we can talk about Katie Taylor, who's done amazing things for boxing, for women's boxing. Tasha Jonas, amazing things, you know. But if it wasn't for Jane Couch, those girls, you know, it would have been real tough for them to get where they are now. It wouldn't have happened. So that's what stuck with me, and that's how it got. That's why we're real, you know, for the women's fight game. That's why we're really trying to push it now promotionally. Hence the link up with Chris, because Chris has got those really talented, you know, Ellie Coulson, Holly Tell, Nicola, who you know well, Nicola Hope well, you know, and he's got some great lads in the gym as well that are coming through. He just signed Cameron Moran, who's a really talented middleweight, you know, and I would highly recommend you get on, because, you know, he's a great character. But you know, he's got a real talented. He's got, I think, when you look at his stable, female, you know, women's wise, I think he's probably got one of the largest female stables in Europe now for girls.
Yeah. I know he's got a lot boxing out there, and a lot of people that just use the gym as well. Obviously, Jim Finch brings Angelica down, and you know, there's a real good, you know, Conor Brazil's coming through looking really good. There's a good crop of just youngsters, and I feel old saying it, but a good crop of youngsters coming.
Well, we are old, mate. I hate to say it, but doesn't the time go? Yeah, but makes you feel old. But yeah, I know you, especially like Holly. You know, Holly's 17.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Not even 18 yet. You know, and you know, when I was with them all up in Aberdeen in April, you know, I was just thinking, my God, I feel so frigging old. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're a good bunch. So, but yeah, talented, stable, and Chris is a really dedicated guy. You know, does it for love, knows his stuff, and is passionate about what he does. You know, wants the best for his fighters.
That's the best thing, isn't it? You know, I've spoken to a few trainers, and right up to sort of Joe Gallagher, who's been around a long time, and even he said, "It's not about me. It's not about me." And you think a guy that's been around that long has still got that mentality. Look at what his fighters are doing. You know, the Callum Jones, Natasha Jonases. There's some cracking people. You know, Marcus Morrison was out not long ago. They're the trainers that are making stuff happen, aren't they? And I'm glad, you know, Chris is in there following suit, isn't he? He's doing the right things and saying the right stuff, and you know.
Yeah. They're going to go a long way. They are going to go a long way. All those girls. They're very talented. I mean, I know a lot of people. You know, maybe you were going to touch it, but because obviously we're BIBA, you know, British Irish Boxing Authority. You know, and there is that divide still that goes on, which you know needs to be sorted. But that's a whole political discussion that I won't bore you with. But you know, they are BIBA, and they do get a little bit of like, oh, well, you're signed with BIBA, you're never gonna fight for a real world title, which is a complete load of shit. You know, excuse my language, but it is because there's a lot going on with BIBA now. They're breaking, you know, knocking down doors, smashing down doors, probably is the best way of putting it. And with, you know, the more talented, I've always said it's not about who licenses these fighters. It doesn't matter if you're with the, you know, British Boxing Board of Control's a limited company, buddy. You know what I mean? They're not a regulatory body. They're a limited company. They're no different to, you know, any plumbers merchants. You know, it's a limited company. Doesn't matter. You know, I think it's just, so it doesn't matter who licenses the fighter. It's more about the fighter. The fighter makes, you know, it's the same old thing with the titles, isn't it? It doesn't matter what title, the fighter makes the title, you know. If you've got a talented fighter like Nicola Hopewell, you know, and Holly, you know, and Ellie, all of them, they're all super talented kids. And, you know, they're going to go far, mate. It doesn't matter who licenses. Because people, when you look at a professional fighter, I don't look at the fighter and go, oh, who licenses you? You don't.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I've had the question put to me quite a bit because, you know, obviously having the girls on and other people, you know, and they turn around and go, right, but they're with BIBA, so they can't go for a world title. They can't go for a proper world title. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know these things because it's not down to me to sort of look into, you know, boxers know their contracts. They know what, you know, and their trainers are guiding them to where they're going to get. A trainer's not going to guide them to get to a point and then go, well done, you've got this far, you can't go any further. Because how destroying it would be for a boxer to give their entire career to chase something and they can't earn it. So
yeah,
it's you know, British Boxing Board of Control, they're the known body. They've been going around for a very, very long time. They've got the big names and all that sort of thing. So they're the go-to people, as people say. But BIBA is, as you say, coming up now, and they're now getting recognised. It's like you say, they just join the pool, don't they, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, it's no different. You look at countries like America, Australia, you know, in each state, they have different regulatory bodies, you know, or different boards, if you want. And, you know, currently in the UK, British Boxing Board, we all know it, you know, they've got the monopoly. You know, they've got that they monopolise at the moment, you know, and there is a lot of politics involved that come alongside that. And it's all about money at the end of the day. Money makes the world go round. We know that. But I think as time goes on, you know, and I think we're already starting to show that BIBA is starting to become a bit of a force in boxing now. You're always going to have the old school that don't like change, but change is always inevitable. You know, it's got to happen. And I take it back to that, you know, they are starting to get affiliated now with a lot of the world recognised bodies. There's a couple that, they're not recognised by, but that's because those bodies work closely with the British Boxing Board of Control. But again, it comes back to that thing that obviously once it's about the fighters for me, Joe. It's like, you know, let's use Nicola as an example. You know, there's going to come a point where she can't be ignored, and it's like, you know, they even have to be a part of it. You know, and it comes back to that whole money situation again. Even those recognised world, you know, should we say recognised, you know, world boxing championship bodies, organisations are going to look and say, well, actually, we want a slice of that pie too. You know, they're not going to sniff, you know, and turn their nose up at money, mate. And that's because that's what they're there for. They're not there for love. These organisations, they're businesses. They're there to make money, you know. And I truly, you know, we as a promotion and outfit, we could have probably gone to the British Boxing Board of Control, but we liked, when we spoke to BIBA, we liked their ethos, we liked their values, we liked what they stood for. They're passionate about female boxing, which, you know, we are too. and don't care what anybody says. It left us. I know people go, "Oh, it's historic, the Jane Council," but it left a bad taste. And for me, you've only got to look at the board and tell me where the female board members are. There aren't any. So it's, for me, Bieber stood head and shoulders above for equality, which is what we're all about. We're not here to make money. We're here to give I know people laugh at that. I don't need a Rolls Royce. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food on the table. I'm not really interested in trying to make money out of it. It's about putting on a good platform and providing equality for those female fighters. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, and as I say, I can only base it on the last show that I watched on Fight TV, and I thought it was a great night of boxing. I genuinely do. I thought, everyone put their heart and soul into it. They had a good MC. A shout out to the MC.
Even if you did have a little ball patch.
Apart from the lighting.
Yeah, dodgy lighting. Showed me a grey bit, but yeah, anyway.
Well, no, it was a good night of boxing, and I spoke to a lot of people after that. And, I spoke to Nicola that was on there, and she said, yeah, really loved it. It felt good. And if fighters are getting that feeling, they put on better performances, they feel happier, and they want to go again. And the crowd and the fans, wherever they are, whether they're going to be in the arena or watching it on telly, they'll pick up that vibe. And it goes from there. It escalates on. And I think
and you've hit the nail on
the Brighton one. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be a great show, the Brighton one. But you've hit the nail on the head with the whole. It breaks my heart really when I look on Twitter, and this. I'm not going to mention names; it's not right. But there's a lot of really good fighters on there. Female fighters on Twitter, and they're basically having to tout to get out and have. Obviously, we know the pandemic's had a big impact. It's had an impact on all sport. But boxing particularly, it's had a real impact. And a lot of these girls are on there, and they're having to really tout to try and get fights. And it all comes down to a couple of certain promoters. And as well as I do, you've been to gyms, you've spoken to fighters. It's very rare that a boxer, will go into a gym. Of course, every boxer enters a gym and they want that dream of becoming a world champion. But it's a minority that will ever get to those dizzy heights. A lot of them, they walk in and they probably walk away from the sport quite disillusioned. But it's very heartbreaking when you see a lot of these fighters on social media, having to sort of say, I really need to fight, but they feel, a lot of them seem to feel that they can only go to a certain couple of promoters to get those fights. But if you talk to people like Nicola, Ellie, Angelica, they're getting out. They've got probably more fights lined up this year than a lot of other fighters that are on social media saying, "Oh, I really need a fight," And Ellie and Holly, on the Brighton card, we've got them fighting for the WIBA Youth World Featherweight and Youth World Middleweight Championships, respectively. And I know people go, "Oh, the WIBA," and it's like, "Oh, well, that is." But what people forget is the Women's International Boxing Association. They are the oldest world female sanctioning sort of title. Women's boxing. They are the original. They're really held in really high regard. Go and Google the WIBA. Go and see what they've done. See their former champions. I see some of the current champions are Susie Q Ramadan in Australia. Is a prime example. Who's a legend of Australian boxing. Should be a global superstar if you ask me. I mean, she's another one. This is how the sport is at the moment. Susie, fantastic advocate for women's boxing. Being left in Australia, people aren't queuing up to fight her for whatever reason. It's wrong, mate. And this is what I'm saying. We're trying to give a platform to these fighters now, so they can go out. At the end of the day, they're going to professional boxing to earn some money and hopefully win some titles. And that's all we're trying to provide for them, is that opportunity to do that. And again, I'll go back to like Nicola, Ellie. Throughout this year, their diaries are full, literally. And tell me any other fighter. Go to Twitter and look up some of these other fighters that are please give me a fight, Mr. Hearn. Please give me but they're not getting those fights. Whereas our girls are. Yeah, your girls
have got sort of 4 or 5 already planned out for the rest of the year, and it's all good to go, isn't it? And as you say, it's perfect timing for stuff to open back up again for them, because it's the start of their diary. So it's kind of follow the journey now, and
exactly.
Yeah, like as you were saying, I spoke to, I won't mention her name, but I spoke to a champion the other day, WBC champion, and she's struggling for sponsorship and to get a fight over the line.
I saw that. That broke my heart, mate, when I saw that. I saw that.
I thought,
having to do is it crowdfunding, GoFundMe or something to try and get a title fight together.
And I interviewed her not so long ago, and I just thought, how awful. Such, you know, she's given her heart to the sport, and it's like the sport spat her out. And what can you do? You know, and yet you guys are doing a great job, you know, not just promoting women, but getting the shows up and running and putting those promises down and saying, yeah, we're going to get you to where you deserve to be. And
exactly.
Hats off to you, Lakey. You know, I know you've got a great team around you as well, but, you know, hats off to you.
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is try, mate. We're trying to give people an alternative. But the good news for the fighters now, every fight is on Fight TV, guaranteed. You know, so they're getting that exposure. I mean, that goes out to over 250 million homes globally. You know, and that's a fact. That's not some plucked out the air kind of figure. I mean, everybody, you know, it's easy to access, isn't it? Fight TV via your app, your telly, whatever you want to use. You know, it's there. Just log in and away you go. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, and again, how many of those fighters that maybe have only had 2 or 3 fights? How many of them can say, actually, you know, I might get a fight on some card in wherever, I don't know, up in the north of the country, but you know, is that going to be a televised show? Probably not. You know, and a lot of those guys and girls are going to have to be reliant on selling tickets to make their money for themselves, for their opponents. You know, it's a hard sport, you know, and for the fighters, it's a really tough sport, and that's where it needs to change, and that's what we're trying to do. You know, I know there's Susanna Shaw OBE. She's entering the arena, if you like, and she's doing a lot of promoting now, or she's looking to promote a women's boxing league, which is a great addition. And that's what it needs. The monopoly needs to be broken a little bit more, so for the girls and the lads. Again, you know, there's a lot of lads that, you know, starting out that aren't going to get that exposure. But, you know, for the girls at the moment, I think it's more so, you know, because they're willing to take on anybody, fight anytime, any place, anywhere. They've shown that, you know. Yeah. And the sport has grown astronomically over, especially throughout this COVID period of time, you know. So, yeah, I think, like I say, 12 to 18 months, I'm hopeful that things are going to be, the landscape's going to look really different, and, you know, we're going to provide a lot of opportunities for a lot of these fighters, mate.
Yeah, I think there's, you know, like you were saying, it's breaking that mould, and it's getting other people in. You know, we've just had, what was it, Fight Zone TV has just kicked off last week.
Come on.
That's another one that's kind of breaking the mould and saying we want to try something different. And I just think, as a boxing fan, I'm like, give me whatever comes. Do you know what I mean? I love
exactly
it.
that.
And
exactly that.
This is what we want to see, isn't it? Is that kind of, a fighter can't just go to that person. Actually, they can go here, 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 here. The opportunities open up, which then puts people out for more fights, more opportunities. There's not so much of this. They've got to go on crowdfunding pages and all sorts of things to get fights. You know, it's opportunity, and you know, Lakey, you're now in the mix. You know,
well, and we hope so. We hope so.
It's looking really good. And I as I say, as a boxing fan, and I've been speaking to you for a bit now, and I really enjoyed it. So keep up the good work, mate, and I'll definitely be supporting everything that you put out. So
thank you. It's good to hear, mate. No, it's kind words, very kind words. But yeah, like I say, we're going to push on. And like I say, get this year out of the way, and hopefully next year's going to be an even bigger year. So watch the space, mate. Watch the space.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming on, Lakey, and I'm sure you'll find
a pleasure, mate.
Once you get off here from.
It hasn't stopped this week. I'm off to Aberdeen again, aren't I? Saturday, so I'm back on doing the commentary for Let Battle Commence 4. So back in Aberdeen the weekend, so that'll be good. So looking forward to that. But again, busy in the build up. But this time I'm flying. Word of advice before you cut me off, mate. If you ever go to Aberdeen, because we're Southern boys, never get a train. 13 hours. Numb arse. My arse was so numb. 13 hours. 13 hours. 13 hours the first time I went up there.
Do that anyway?
because I couldn't get a flight because it was during smack bang, you know, end of April, and the flights were there just wasn't that many, and they were ridiculously priced. I thought, I'll take my laptop, I'll get the train, I can do some work while I'm on the way up. After about 6 hours, mate. Oh Jesus, it was the worst journey of my life. So this time I'm flying an hour, so that's better. But yeah, just word to the wise: never get the train to Aberdeen.
Well, on that note, Lakey, thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. It's been a pleasure.
For all you do with Sportanarium and delivering Arv and Thomas Bryce to us, two absolute characters that we know of, and the rest of the gang.
If it all ends tomorrow, mate, my work is done just by giving everyone Thomas Bryce and Arv me too. I tell you, it's been well worth it. Legends, the pair of them. Legends.
But, thanks for all you do, mate. And yeah, we look forward to everything that crops up on Fight TV. Keep us posted, and I can shove it out on here as well.
No worries, mate. No worries. We'll do. Good to chat.
Yeah, stay in touch, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
See you, dude.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Lakey, top bloke, started Sportanarium, now got his boxing promotion up and running, yeah, under the same name. Got a lot of stuff coming up on Fight TV, so get behind him, get behind all the girls and all the fighters that are coming through. Really good crop. Chris Ball's got some great fighters down the gym there. As I say, shout out to Jim Finch as well. Really lovely guy, and yeah, we wish them all the best going forward and putting out an amazing platform for those fighters to get the fights they deserve and to keep the ball rolling with female boxing on top of everyone else. So yeah, thanks for watching. You've been watching JG's Fight Talk. Head over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, check out the rest of the content, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.